Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Arc Clone Trooper Echo Phase 2 armor. Though I'm truthfully not a big fan of the Clone Wars and really now excited that we've got ourselves a new Star Wars universe with the expansion of the new trilogy, Force Awakens, I definitely still wanted to go back and have a look at some of the clone troopers. We've already had a look at Captain Rex. Wanted to go ahead and have a look at the Arc Clone Trooper Echo. This is the Phase 2 armor, and it's from the folks over at Sideshow Collectibles. The front features the Clone Trooper Echo, which also carries over to the side of the box as we spin it around. Finally, on the back of the box, you've got an unhelmeted version of what Clone Trooper Echo will look like. Just before we also have a look at this and we get this opened up, one of the things too, also with the boxes, there's a magnetic clasp that closes it off, but you can open it up. Inside, you've got the Star Wars Arc Clone Trooper Echo Phase 2 armor, and on the other side, you've got the Clone Trooper, his alternate head, and a ton of different accessories, all of which we'll have a look at when we get this opened up. That being said, Spot's going to take a break. Going to get this out of the box, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Arc Clone Trooper Echo, the Phase 2 armor. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. With the Sideshow Collectibles Clone Trooper Echo, the first thing we'll have a look at is this standard circular display stand that comes with the figure. Featured on the top is Star Wars. There's no placard or anything on there that says Echo. And then you've also got your leg clip there where the leg can, or the figure can stand on top. This is adjustable. It moves up and down. There's not really much to be said for the display stand, but that's really okay. I like, at least if anything, that it would come with the display stand, so really happy for that. As for the figure itself, I really like it actually. One thing, if anything, that I've taken away from the Clone Troopers, even though I'm not a fan of the show, the Clone Troopers animated series, or really wasn't a fan that George Lucas stretched what could have easily just been a very short moment in Star Wars universe and stretched it considerably long. One thing I really like about the Clone Troopers is that they had their own unique design. Like, they took their armor, which was very common amongst all the other, troops, and they made it their own. So that's one thing I really liked about it. Like Echo, for example, has the printed hand on the front of his armor plating there. And of course his helmet is very drastically different as well. Same design, granted, but the paint scheme is slightly different. You can see what I mean by the additional blue that they've added to, well, that Echo would have added to the top of the helmet. And he's got a couple of these little gashes there as well. But the coloring, the coloring stays pretty consistent with that off-white. It's a very dirty colored white. And the blue. The black and the gray are all common colors for the Clone Troopers, and though we've seen this before, you have to appreciate the fact that with the Clone Troopers, like Echo here, they did make it their own, and of course they made their armor very unique to themselves. Though also not something I'm probably going to be displaying him with. He has also the scope that lowers down. I'd be more inclined to just keep it up. It seems a little on the stiff side too. I was worried I was going to break it as I was moving it down, but it does lower and raise. Outfit wise, well, it's pretty much what we've seen before. The comma skirt and the pauldron are all still here, just a little bit slightly colored differently than the Rex that we already had a look at. The coloring though, I'm glad it's not a stark white. If it was a stark white figure, it would kind of take it away from being a realistic looking design, and it would just look a little too pristine. But no, even the skirt, the boots, and all the armor have a real dirtied look to it, like it's been in war a lot. Little aged areas with the scuff, and again, the scuff and the dirt. It's covered on the sides of his arms, also on the back there as well. And a lot, actually, surprisingly, in the helmet, the back of the helmet. He's got all these little pockets on the backs, and he's got a couple of pockets on the front. None of these actually open. They're just sculpted in there. But he does have a couple of open areas on the front that you can have his accessories stored in. Just before, though, I show you the accessories, one of the other things that come with Echo is an interchangeable head. The interchangeable head, yes, we've seen these before as well, slightly changed depending on the clone trooper that we were looking at. This particular one has more of a, like a brush cut, a military brush cut. The profile is very nice. Paint, also no issues whatsoever there. To change out the head, as simple as, well, one slight issue, as you grab the head, you'll find that this piece wants to come off a lot. And also, the turtleneck area or the collared neck area likes to ride itself further up, sometimes covering over the ball joints. When you put the head back on, you want to make sure that the little cuff collar there at the top of his neck is pushed down so it can actually clear the ball joint. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. I like this look because you could actually have him holding his helmet in his hand, kind of have it under his arm like he's just been victorious. But to be honest, I generally display, if anything, the clone troopers with their helmets on. It's just a preferred look for myself. I suppose if you had more of these, maybe some you would display without the helmets, some you would display with the helmets. But to be honest, I generally display clone troopers with the helmets on. I think it's just a cooler look. When you're changing out heads also too, you have to make sure that the shoulder section is far enough down. If not, it's not enough for the head to actually clear this section here, and you end up not being able to get it on the ball joint. So really had to kind of push this down so I can get the head to attach itself back to the ball joint. So let's go ahead now and have a look at the accessories that come along with Echo. First things first, he comes with a survival backpack that has almost a gray wash to it, giving a little bit of age to it. There is a bit of blue to break up some of the, well, just the majority of it being gray. Funny enough, though, the backpack initially, when you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to necessarily get it on. You want to take the figure and flip it around, and it just goes on by Velcro, by magnets. I wish the Jango Fett actually had the same magnet attachment. This just makes things a lot easier. And if you remember my review of the Jango Fett you actually had to hook onto these little clasps that came down from the top of the shoulders. If you had just only simply made it magnetic, it would have been a lot easier to attach it. He also comes with 2 cartridges that are painted the same way as the backpack, and those can sit right on the inside of these front pockets, just like that. They don't really attach necessarily, they just slide into the pockets. They do a good enough job of staying in there, they're not going to fall out. He gets a pair of DC-17 blasters, which you can have him either holding, or what you can also do too is just move his arms out of the way. Echo's got a holster on either side that will hold the blasters in place. One sits on the one side, and the other one sits on the inside. For how much other firepower he comes with, I'll likely display the hand blasters in the holsters instead. He also gets his standard fare blaster rifle that also has the same adjustments that we've seen with previous releases as well, though this one is painted more of a silver color than the previous released. I believe the previously released one was a darker color, but other than that, it's the exact same blaster, and probably how I'm going to have him displayed. Or what I might also do is display him with this much larger rifle. Yeah, I'm probably going to be having him displayed with this. It's the same coloring as the smaller blaster, just a really long rifle instead. Yeah, I'm probably going to be having him displayed with this instead. The smallest of the accessories that come included with Echo is a little droid popper detonator. And finally after that, well, you would not expect a clone trooper to not include a ton of different hands. Echo's got 11, technically 13 if you count the fist that he's currently sporting. And those hands range from one suited for holding the weapons. He's got a couple of different directional hands like pointing fingers. He's got a saluting hand. He's got the 2-finger gestured hands. Thumbs up, another saluting hand, and a lot of there's a thumbs up, another directional, and a couple of other partially opened hands as well. Of course, posability, it's pretty much what you would expect. Echo does have the ball joint in the head, and I'm still a little bummed that the shoulder pad area gets as much in the way as it does, but once you get it on there, the head does move left and right. Of course, not trying to pop the magnetized survival backpack off. His shoulders do hinge forward, which are slightly limited because the little plates on the shoulders do move, yes, but this kind of holds everything down, kind of limiting what you can do with these shoulders. He has a swivel point at the top of the bicep. He has a double hinged elbow as well as the rotation in the hand. Then when you get to the torso is on its own ball joint, which also allows the torso to swivel. Legs move forward and back, as well as out. He has a top cut thigh which rotates, a double hinge knee, and finally a hinge as well as a rotation in the foot. Chalk up another great Clone Troopers outing from the folks over at Sideshow Collectibles. I think Echo actually turned out quite nice. This is only really technically Spot's second Clone Trooper. The first was Captain Rex, and you know what, I'd be inclined to pick up more of these. I do like the fact, and though despite the fact during this review I knocked the Clone Troopers, it just was really a part of the movie universe, I should say, that I wish George Lucas had spent a little less on and spent more time on focusing, well, wrapping up a trilogy that started with the first 6 movies. If he had only really just continued on and given us what we're getting now with The Force Awakens, maybe then we could have gotten ourselves a younger Han Solo, a younger Luke Skywalker, and who's to say? We never really will know. Of the stuff I do take away from the Clone Troopers, though, I do like the differences in their suits. Echo looks very different from Captain Rex, though really still staying with a similar color scheme. But Echo is very much his own character. And I will be adding this next to Rex on my display shelf, and maybe from there, my clone army will increase. Who's to say? Today's collectible spot, we were having a look at the Sideshow Collectibles Star Wars Clone Trooper Echo, the 6th scale figure. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.